Alright, so the Green New Deal of Paranoia, that's what this thing should be called. Now let me just say, I'm not an expert in climate science, however I cannot help but think this is merely an attempt to whip everyone up into an apocalyptic frenzy so the likes of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez can dictate what you can and cannot do. In fact, the Green New Deal specifically mentions human activity as the culprit behind why we're all going to be dead in 12 years, according to Cortez anyway. Now, I do want to say, I am not some person who says screw the environment. I'm really not. People who litter annoy the hell out of me. I hate going to the beach and seeing plastic crap all over the place. I much prefer a nice-looking city than a literal trashy city, and I would love to see solar energy be a viable option in my lifetime. That I am not opposed to that in any sense. But that being said, I can't help but notice that Ocasio-Cortez's claims that the world is going to end in 12 years if we don't all give control solely to the government, that claim is right up there with all the other apocalyptic claims that have been made for the past 50 years or so. You had peak oil, where they said we will run out of oil soon in the 70s, and that never happened. In fact, the opposite has happened. We know of more oil reserves now than we did back then. You had people saying starvation was going to kill off hundreds of millions of people during the 80s. You had people saying that worldwide we would see a catastrophe of epic proportions coming from starvation. You had claims that 200,000 people would die from smog in New York City and Los Angeles. And of course you had Al Gore saying in the mid-2000s that in 5 to 7 years the Arctic shelf would disappear, despite the fact that by 2014 it had grown. And now you've got Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying that all 325 million people must relinquish control of their own lives, for if they don't, in 12 years the world is going to end. This seems to be an old and tired tactic. Like I said, it seems just way too obvious that all she's attempting to do is instill apocalyptic fear into people. But if you just concede all your rights, we will save you. Well, the government has waged a war on drugs, a war on terror, a war on homelessness, a war on poverty, and a war on pretty much every other negative aspect of society. And there's still drugs around, there's still terrorism, there's still homelessness, there's still poverty. So I don't believe for a second, even if Ocasio-Cortez is right about the world ending in 12 years, I don't believe for one moment that she's going to be the one to save us. Not to mention the fact that if you reduce the US's carbon footprint to 0%, you've still got India, China, Brazil, and plenty of other developing economies that spew far more pollutants into the atmosphere than we do. So even if she's right and she manages to replace all fossil fuels with renewable resources, which is just impossible, by the way, as even her fellow Democratic Party members have pointed out, but even if she is right, you've still got countries out there that are far worse in terms of environmental friendliness than we are, and you would have just handed over all your rights, all your liberties, all your freedoms for nothing. But that's got to be it for now. Thank you for listening, and till next time.